Hey, what's goody, Frye gang? So Big Run could have some huge implications for the lore and maybe even Splatoon 4, especially this past grand run, I guess everyone is calling it. But some of the some of the dialogue here from Mr. Grizz during this is kind of interesting. So here, one of the most important ones, he says, the great migration of salmon used to happen once every 70 years, but about 2 years ago, it started happening all over. This is the 7th site. Now this is important, and this is corroborated by Sunken Scroll 18 in Splatoon 2 saying, this appears to be a painting from the Middle Ages. It depicts a great migration of salmon said to occur once every 70 years. And then in the 17th Sunken Scroll, a little verse here from the Book of Madai says, when smoke rises from the 7 rings, the pink fish will emerge from the sea, devouring all the creatures of the land. Now, the pink fish isn't literally pink fish, but have you ever looked up into the sky during a big run? Yeah, the sky is all pink, and you can actually see some rings in the sky with some light coming down out from it. So Big Run or Splatoon 2 was foreshadowing Big Run this whole time, which I already think is really cool. But this could have some huge implications for the future lore of the salmon and maybe even Splatoon 4, because why all of a sudden have big runs been happening, or at least salmon runs been happening a lot more frequently within the past 2 years? They used to happen every 70 years, but within the past 2 years they're happening constantly. Why is that? I don't think that was explained. Is it because of Mr. Grizz and for his whole like mammalians plan? I don't really think so, because I think this started happening before Grizzco, because he established Grizzco to get these eggs from the salmon that were constantly doing their salmon runs. So this was even before Grizzco. Yeah, so why was this happening? And for the in the Book of Madai, it said when the smoke rises from the 7 rings. And if you remember from the first part, Mr. Grizz says this is the 7th site, the Great Splatlands Bowl. This is the 7th site, 7 rings. So I mean, 7 is already just like a really important number in Splatoon lore anyway, or just Splatoon anyway, because 7 rings, 7th site, happening every 70 years, 700 million quota for the grand run. There are 7 idols. Like 7 is just an important number overall. But the 7 rings, this is the 7th site. Perhaps like the whole 7 rings thing is just a cryptic message to insinuate or foreshadow that there will be 7 big runs. And we've had 7 big runs so far, so this could be like an in-lore hint or in foreshadowing, but also like a real life foreshadowing to us, because there were 7 big runs. And how this can connect to Splatoon 4 is that what if the Splatfest here about past, present, and future isn't about Splatoon 3, or isn't about like the next Splatoon game itself, but it's about the Salmonids? What if the next Splatoon game is based more on the Salmonids? Now that the Inkling and Octoling War, that whole story saga is over with Splatoon 3, it's time to start a new storyline. What if this new storyline in the new Splatoon game, whether that be 4 or something else, what if this is about the Salmonids now? Because if you've been paying attention, Salmonids have been gaining a lot more relevancy and importance since Splatoon 2. Like, they're introduced in Splatoon 2 with Grizzco and Salmon Run and all of that, and then those Sunken Scrolls. And in Splatoon 3, not only did Salmon Run continue, but we got Big Run now, which is like a huge deal. So why, first of all, why is this like increased salmon run happening? Maybe we'll find out within the next game, because the games like to the Splatoon games like to foreshadow future games, I guess, because Splatoon 1 with the Final Fest, Marie won, so we're helping Marie look for Callie in the story mode. And in Splatoon 2, Grizzco was all established and everything, and then come to Splatoon 3, Mr. Grizz is the main antagonist of Splatoon 3, and then big runs. So what if the next game is about the Salmonids and not anything focused on the great sapfish being stolen by DJ Octavio again or anything like that? What if it's based on the Salmonids this time? And the past, present, future could kind of fit into that. So if past wins, we could learn more about like the past of Salmonids and how they evolved and where they came from and what started this whole like increased salmon run thing, or see the evolution of the smaller, like the small Fryes into the Quahawks, into the boss Salmonids, and then eventually into the king Salmonids. Because if you remember, the king Salmonids are only really created under the absolute most stressful situations. Like the Salmonids will be so stressed out and just not traumatized but pressured, I guess, that they turn into king Salmonids. Like the, what was it, Kozuna is basically just a Quahawk, just like a mutated Quahawk. Same with Megalodontia is just like a mutated Moz, and then Ouroboros is like a mutated Steelhead. I know Ouroboros is kind of a controversial one. People are still trying to figure out what that one's based on, whether it be a steel eel or a stinger or a steelhead. Steel eel, I mean, I guess I can kind of see it because of the long body, but if you remember the steel eel, the entire, like the steel eel itself isn't the salmonid, it's just the thing, the salmonid piloting it from the back, and the entire thing is just a contraption created. So it's most likely a steelhead because of the booyah bomb it throws out of its mouth. Steelheads have the big ass bombs on their head, and they even look very similar, like the bombs themselves within like the pouches that they're in. But if past wins, we can learn about like the evolution of the Salmonids and how they came to be. The present, we could see like the ramifications of the increased salmon runs, because there's a lot of salmon runs. Salmon runs have been happening more frequently within the past 2 years, and who's to say that they won't continue to happen at a greater rate? So eventually, maybe, or that leads into like the future part. In the future part, we can learn that the salmon runs have been happening so frequently and at a great rate, and there's so many salmon that the inklings and octolings can't fight them off enough. So now the salmon run take over the above ground, and they push the inklings and octolings into the other ground, just like the inklings did to the octarians. So now everyone is forced to live underground because the inklings or the salmonids have overrun the surface. And that would be a pretty interesting concept to see, just all three of them, past, present, or future. So the next game could be focused on the salmons, since they have been gaining a greater importance since debut, like with the big runs and everything. So we got more lore with that. The, what's it called, story mode is technically related to that, because Mr. Grizz, first he runs Grizzco, and in order to make his fuzzy ooze, he needs power eggs from the salmons. That's why he created Grizzco in the first place. So what if the next game is about the salmonids, and it's just focusing on the salmonids now? And it kind of makes me wonder, how different would Splatoon 3 have been if Team Order won? Because Chaos won, and that influenced like the aesthetic and theme of Splatoon 3. But what if it also influenced the story mode? Because like Mr. Grizz going haywire to get all these power eggs for his fuzzy ooze to take over the planet again, that's pretty chaotic. So if Team Order had won, would the story mode have been any different in Splatoon 3? I don't know. But Big Run, it took me this long. I didn't realize all of this until this most past Big Run, when Mr. Grizz said that line about the 7 sites. Like, this is the 7th site. That one line right there just clicked everything together. I don't know why it was that line, but just imagine the possibilities. The next game could be no more focusing on the inkling and octoling war. Now we're going to the salmon war. Okay, what if the next game is focused on the salmons? That would be great. And this past Big Run, it might actually lead to that, because this past Big Run shows Nintendo that people do care about Salmon Run, and it's not just some thrown off side online mode that no one cares about. Like, Salmon Run is huge. There is a huge dedicated like player base to Salmon Run, overfishers and all of that. Like, Salmon Run is a very popular mode. It's not just a side thing that no one cares about. People love Salmon Run, and the quota, I haven't checked the exact results yet, but as far as I know, last time I saw, we already passed 1 billion eggs. Like, we hit 700 million day 2 easily, and then we got up to 800 million just not even an hour after that. And then recently, the most recent one I saw is that we already hit 1 billion. So people are playing the fuck out of Big Run, all right? People care about Salmon Run. Like me, Salmon Run, at least it was my favorite online game mode until I started playing ranked more competitively. But I still absolutely adore Salmon Run. It's such a great mode, and it shows Nintendo does care about it too, since they made it a permanent online mode instead of just certain days like they did in Splatoon 2. But yeah, Splatoon or Salmon Run could have a lot bigger of an impact on the future of the series than we had thought. So hopefully the next game is focused more on the salmons, because I would love to learn more about the salmons and the lore around them and everything. So it would be so nice. And like king salmon is like I said, they only come from the most stressful situations. So like, what is that? Like salmon runs themselves and like them getting more eggs taken than usual in salmon runs. Like what causes that? What would cause it? Is it Mr. Grizz? Like, what's happening? Why are the salmon runs happening more often now within the past 2 years? What changed? See, stuff like that. I want to learn more about stuff like that. So maybe the next Splatoon game is focused on the salmons, but this grand run, or just Big Run in general, even extension by Salmon Run in general, was just having huge implications for the future, and I am all here. I'm here for all of it, bro. I really need to know. But that's about it. See you next mission and play some goddamn Splatty.